Okay. Whoa. Okay, I don't think I was followed. Good. Oh my gosh. For those of you who don't know, my name is... Well, no, that's not important. Alright, let me catch my breath. So I'm a researcher. Not like your normal researcher that's looking up fungus or whatever. No, I actually keep tabs on government entities or extra government entities. Right now, my focus is on the Foundation. And I found some really disturbing things about their organization so far. Well, let's get into it. Revoked Studio.
Warning, this information has been classified.
Granted, today what I'm going to be talking about isn't too dangerous by any means, but it's crazy that you can't even go around trusting pens anymore without accidentally selling your soul to some sort of ancient primordial god or something crazy like that. The SCP I'm talking about today is SCP Not Beta 1, also known as Sign Here. I bet you think this looks like a normal pen, don't you? Well, it's not, stupid! It's an SCP and it's trying to kill you! Potentially. Now, I'm not going to get into how I managed to sneak into the Foundation site, but there are a couple of safe objects there that I can get to without much difficulty. Today, while going through Foundation files, I found SCP Not Beta 1. I could probably get to the objects and test it out myself, but I have an aversion to direct contact with anomalous, well, really anything, and I'd rather not test my luck. Apparently, the object is in a reinforced security locker accessible to clearance level 3+ personnel to prevent misuse of the object. I think the Foundation might have had an issue with people playing with the object. I tried to find out what caused them to increase the security clearance. Now, I couldn't find an incident log, but I did find a disciplinary action in the site logs. Apparently, someone was demoted after using an SCP as a Halloween prop, if you can believe it. I think that our SCP might have been involved. So to me and you, SCP Not Beta 1 looks like a regular, everyday, ordinary fountain pen. In fact, SCP Not Beta 1 is a 19th century fountain pen made by the Faber-Castell company and delivered to the Foundation in 2008. I tried to find out more about the person that delivered the pen to the Foundation. Unfortunately, I'm no Detective V or anything. Given the age of the object, it must be disassembled, cleaned, and reassembled once every 3 months in order to preserve it. The thing about this pen is that if you hold it, you will sign your name on any contract without thinking about it. And I know, that's not weird. Most people do that anyway. However, you won't be signing in ink. No, of course not. We're dealing with an SCP, and that would be way too normal. Anything written with this object is written in blood. They ran a DNA analysis on the blood and found that it comes from the person writing, along with some other redacted material. On top of that, the process in which the blood is extracted from the writer is unknown. Once the contract is signed, the person will try to prick their finger with the end of the pen and place a bloody fingerprint on the document. They ran several experiments with D-Class, which are essentially like the cannon fodder of the Foundation. You can think of them as human guinea pigs taken from death row inmates worldwide, which is an ethical tangent I'm not going to get into today. But what they found is that when somebody holds SCP Beta 1, without a contract, they're compelled to write out a contract on any flat surface. What's the contract about? Well, it's to sell their soul to the kings of the Ivory Throne. Once signed, they'll write the contract over and over again until they release the pen. Shortly after they sign the document, the contract will disappear. Nobody knows what happens to it, but the individual will not sign their name on any other duplicate contracts. If allowed to continue, the person will continue to write the contracts indefinitely. So far, no adverse effects have happened to anybody who signed the contracts, so they closed the case and left the pen in containment ever since, classifying the object as safe. However, after doing a bit more looking into it, I found something interesting. D7831, one of the D-Class that signed the contract, died in another experiment with SCP-3998, also known as the Wicker Witch. He burst into flames because, well, of course he did, and the observer swears that at the moment of death, a hand grabbed him and pulled something out of his mouth before vanishing. I managed to track down D7831's family and went through their mail. I know, weird, but I'm glad I did, because I found a letter with no return information. But it did have a red handprint, and what I can assume is blood. Inside is a letter and it said paid in full, and there was $3.14 inside. Shortly after getting the letter, it burst into flames. So, yeah. So it would be extremely irresponsible of me to show you the anomalous contract. So of course I will, it's in the description. So what did you guys think about that SCP-9? If you want more, please like and subscribe, and if you'll use the pen, put it in the description below. I don't know what you will use the pen for, but hey, I'm not here to judge.